Welcome everyone for the third session of Biology Chapter 9, Control and Coordination. Last time we studied about synapse, properties of nerve fibers, types of synapse, transmission of nerve impulse, and generation of nerve impulse. Today, first of all, we'll start with a short review of generation and conduction of nerve impulse. So let's see steps in generation and conduction of nerve impulse. You can see this flow chart. This shows the exact steps involved in generation and conduction of nerve impulse. How it takes place. First of all, whenever a resting nerve receives a stimulus, immediately permeability of membrane changes and it becomes more permeable to sodium ion. That means now sodium ions diffuse into the neuron from the extracellular fluid. Here, influx of sodium ion takes place. Now, due to this, the number of positive ions inside the axon increases and the membrane potential changes from minus 70 millivolt to about plus 30 millivolt, and this change in the membrane potential is called action potential. Now, since the polarity has been reversed from negative on outside and positive inside, it is also called depolarization. Initially, we know that the condition of outside is positive and inside is negative, and now it has been changed. The outside has become negative and the inside has become positive. This is called depolarization. Now, repolarization. At the peak of action potential plus 30 millivolt, we already have studied about this. Now, when there is this kind of polarity, the sodium ion channels closes, potassium ion gates opens, and the membrane becomes more permeable to potassium ion. Potassium ions now diffuse out of the axon. Now, inside the membrane, it becomes less and less positive and becomes negative once again. So, here again you will find the positive charge will run outside and negative will become inside. Now, here in the exoplasm, that is inside, it will become negatively charged and the extracellular fluid becomes positively charged. That means the condition has been reversed again. This is called repolarization. Now, next part is human nervous system. The nervous system in humans is well developed and it is complex. It is broadly classified into three parts, that is central nervous system, which we call as CNS in short, peripheral nervous system, that is PNS, and autonomous nervous system, that is ANS. Now see this tree diagram. Here you can see that the nervous system is divided into three parts: CNS, PNS and ANS. In this, the central nervous system consists of two parts, that is brain and spinal cord. Here central nervous, if I say, that means it is present in the center of the body. And in the center or axis of our body, brain and spinal cord is present. So it includes brain and spinal cord. Second part is peripheral nervous system. It again consists of two parts, that is cranial nerves and spinal nerves. Now, if I say the word peripheral nervous system, that means the system is present away from the center or away from the axis, or you can say it is towards the periphery of the body. Here, whatever the nerves arises from brain and reaches to different part of the body, they are called as cranial nerves. And those nerves which arises from spinal cord are called spinal nerves. So, cranial nerves and spinal nerves together forms the peripheral nervous system. And the third one is autonomous or autonomic nervous system. We can also call it as automatic nervous system. It consists of again two parts, that is sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. It consists of ganglions. Now we'll start today with the first section, that is central nervous system or CNS. The brain and spinal cord are the parts of central nervous system which lie along the mid-dorsal axis. You can see here. Brain is enclosed within the brain box or cranium, and the spinal cord occupies the ventral canal of vertebral column. Inner to these bony coverings, there are three protective membranes called meninges that protect the brain and spinal cord. Dura mater. It is the outermost tough, non-vascular, thick and fibrous meninx. It is attached to the inner side of the cranium. It is separated from the underlying arachnoid matter by subdural space. Arachnoid matter is the middle, thin and non-vascular layer of connective tissue having web-like appearance. It is separated from pia mater by subarachnoid space. Pia mater is the innermost, delicate and highly vascular membrane, lies in close contact with central nervous system. All the spaces between these meninges are filled with cerebrospinal fluid, that is CSF, which is a lymph-like extracellular fluid. The next part is CSF, that is cerebrospinal fluid. CSF is a lymph-like extracellular fluid which is secreted by choroid plexus of pia mater, present inner to subarachnoid space in the ventricles of the brain within the central canal of spinal cord. That means CSF is present in both brain as well as in the spinal cord. The CSF is a lymph-like extracellular fluid secreted by choroid plexus. The CSF is secreted by pia mater, ependymal cells, and it flows through the ventricles. From here, it surrounds the brain, and then the three openings in the roof of medulla oblongata helps in draining out CSF from brain to the outside. Properties or functions of CSF. There are several properties or functions. Let us study in detail. First is that the meninges. We already studied about the meninges, and the CSF acts as shock absorber. That means whenever any accident takes place and you fell down and you get hurt on your head region, on your brain region, then the CSF immediately flows out, scatters everywhere around the brain and absorbs the shock and protects the brain. Second is, it protects the brain and spinal cord from mechanical injuries. Because of this, now there will be no injury to brain or spinal cord. Then it maintains constant pressure inside the cranium. It helps in exchange of nutrients and waste between blood and brain tissues. So whatever your brain has got the nourishment. That nourishment to your brain is given with the help of CSF, and it removes the waste product from your brain, because if your brain works 24/7, it needs energy, and whenever it requires energy, it will work out and waste product will be produced. So to obtain energy, CSF will provide nutrients, and in order to release that waste product, CSF will take out that waste product from the brain. It helps in the supply of oxygen to the brain. It protects the brain from desiccation. Now, if we talk about CSF, actually CSF is slightly alkaline in nature. It is an alkaline fluid with a specific gravity of 1.005, and near about 100 to 100 cc of CSF is present in and around the central nervous system. Now, talking about the human brain. The study of all aspects of the brain is called encephalology. Encephalon term is used for brain. Encephalology. Encephalon, brain, logy, study. So study of brain or all aspects of brain is called encephalology. We already know that the human brain is divided into three parts. Let's see this chart. Human brain is divided into three parts, that is forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Forebrain is also called as Prosencephalon. Midbrain is called as Mesencephalon and hindbrain is called as Rhombencephalon. Today we'll have a detailed talk about forebrain, but let us see the names or the parts present in all the parts of brain. Forebrain consists of three parts, that is Diencephalon, we also call it as olfactory lobes. Then Diencephalon, which we call as cerebrum, and Diencephalon. Olfactory lobes or Diencephalon consist of olfactory lobes, olfactory bulbs and olfactory tracts. Diencephalon or cerebrum, actually it forms the major portion of the brain, and Diencephalon consists of three parts, that is epithalamus, thalamus and hypothalamus. Coming towards the next part, that is your midbrain or mesencephalon. It consists of two parts, that is crura cerebri and corpora quadrigemina. Third part, that is hindbrain. It consists of two parts, that is metencephalon and myelencephalon. Metencephalon consists of two parts, that is cerebellum and pons varolii, and myelencephalon consists of one part, that is medulla oblongata. So in short, hindbrain consists of three parts, that is cerebellum, pons varolii and medulla oblongata. Let's see the first part, that is forebrain or prosencephalon. Human brain consists of forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Forebrain or prosencephalon consists of olfactory lobe, that is Diencephalon, cerebrum, that is Diencephalon, and Diencephalon. First we'll talk about Diencephalon. They are highly reduced in human brain and covered by cerebrum from all sides except ventral. Each lobe consists of a olfactory bulb and a olfactory peduncle, also called as olfactory tract. The main function of olfactory lobes is sense of smell. Cerebrum or Diencephalon. It is the largest part of the brain, making up about 85% of the total brain. It is divided into right and left cerebral hemisphere by means of a deep median long fissure. The two hemispheres internally connected to each other by a thick band of nerve fibers called corpus callosum. The outer surface of cerebrum is called cerebral cortex, while the deep inner part is called cerebral medulla. The cerebral cortex has outer thin region composed of grey matter. The grey matter mainly consists of cell bodies of billions of neurons along with non-modulated fibers and dendron. And the inner medulla is composed of white matter. This white matter mainly has axons of myelinated nerves. Each cerebral hemisphere is further divided into 4 main lobes by 3 deep sulci. These are the lateral or sylvian sulcus. It demarcates the temporal lobe from the frontal and parietal lobe. Central sulcus. It demarcates frontal lobe from the parietal lobe. Parieto-occipital sulcus. It separates the parietal lobe from the occipital lobe. Since these 3 sulci are not complete, the lobes are not clearly demarcated from each other. A 5th median lobe called insula or insular cortex is folded deep within the lateral sulcus. The surface of each cerebral hemisphere is greatly folded by many conversions or gyrus and grooves called sulci. These greatly increase total surface area for accommodation of the vast number of nerve cells. Functional areas of cerebrum. It consists of first frontal lobe have motor area which controls voluntary motor activities or movements of muscles. The premotor area is higher center for involuntary movements and autonomous nervous system. It contains association area which is for coordination between sensation and movements. It also contains Broca's area or motor speech area that translates the thoughts into speech. Expression of emotions, intelligence, willpower, memory, personality areas, etc. are located in the frontal lobe. Parietal lobe, they are mainly for somaesthetic sensation of pain, pressure, temperature, taste. Occipital lobes, they have visual area mainly for sense of vision. And last one is the temporal lobe. It contains centers for smell, hearing, speech and emotions. Broca's area or motor speech area is present in the frontal lobe. It translates the thoughts into speech. Wernicke's area or intelligence center. It helps in the understanding of spoken and written words. Area of contact between temporal lobe, parietal lobe and occipital lobe is the center for Wernicke's area. Basal ganglia are grey masses present within the white matter. The basal ganglia or nuclei of cerebrum receives neurotransmitters from various parts. They help the cortex in the execution of activities at the subconscious level. For example, writing slow or rapid typing. Corpus striatum at the floor of cerebrum is the largest basal nucleus. Diencephalon. It is the part of the forebrain that contains the epithalamus, thalamus and hypothalamus. It lies below the corpus callosum and above the midbrain. It encloses a single cavity termed third ventricle or diastole, which communicates with the two lateral ventricles of cerebrum through a narrow opening called foramen of Monro. Diencephalon or Thalamencephalon. It is the part of forebrain that contains epithalamus, thalamus and hypothalamus. First we'll talk about epithalamus. It is the thin non-nervous roof of diencephalon. Anteriorly, it is fused with the pia mater to form the anterior choroid plexus. From its dorsal wall, it is connected to pineal gland through a pineal stalk. Earlier, this gland was thought to be vestigial, but later it has been found to produce a hormone, melatonin, that is sleep-inducing hormone. Let us study about the thalamus. The lateral thick walls of diencephalon forms the thalami. They mainly contain grey matter. The hibernacular commissure connects two thalami. Different parts of the brain are interconnected by the RAS, that is reticular activating system, through the thalami. It is also called a relay center, as it transmits all sensory impulses except those of olfactory or smell to the cerebrum. The narrow cavity of diencephalon is called third ventricle or diastole. Posteriorly, it is connected to the fourth ventricle or metacele through a narrow duct of Sylvius. It connects anteriorly to the two lateral ventricles by a single opening called foramen of Monro. Hypothalamus. It forms the floor of the diencephalon. It is richly supplied with blood vessels, hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal vein, which helps in the feedback mechanism of hormonal control. The floor of hypothalamus continues as a downward projection called hypophyseal stalk or infundibulum, which connects to the hypophysis, that is pituitary gland, both physically and functionally by secretion of neurotransmitters. A complex neuronal circuit called limbic system is formed by the hypothalamus, amygdala, parts of epithalamus, thalamus, hippocampus and other areas. The functions of hypothalamus. It maintains homeostasis, that is, internal equilibrium of the body, and involuntary behavior control. It has higher centers for endocrine system. It regulates heart rate, respiration, blood pressure, body temperature, water and electrolyte balance. It has centers for hunger, thirst, sleep, fatigue, satiety, secretion of glands, of stomach and intestine. It also produces neurohormones that stimulate the pituitary gland. It appears to be responsible for emotional reactions, motivational drives, and memory. The inferior surface of hypothalamus also bears the optic chiasma and a pair of mammillary bodies. That mammillary bodies are unique to mammalian brain and responsible for recollective memory. That's all for the day. I hope you understood the topic. Let's stop here. Thank you. We'll meet again in the next video. Till then, take care of yourselves.